Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tumolo Talk. This month's Tumolo Talk, we're going to just cover a few things heading into 2023. Some of the things to start to think about. When I beginning of the year, usually I start to think about, especially when I'm looking at and doing client reviews and so forth. It's really looking into spending patterns, any big goals coming up, tax strategies. Of course, I know beginning of the year, most of us are thinking about taxes because it's tax return time. And then should there be any adjustments to how your accounts are set up to investments? Should you be doing something differently? So touching on the spending goals, really what you're looking at, and it's for those of you that are clients, it's a little bit easier because when you come in and I ask you what's in the bank account, I have a good idea what your trend is. For those of you that are just watching my Tumolo talk you're not a client, you can kind of track your bank account year over year. Uh, and the reason why I say bank account is because usually you have a good idea of what's coming in, where you're taking money from, and then based on the bank account, and I like to do it every 6 months, you can start to build a trend. The trend's going to tell you whether or not inflation is actually really getting to you. Do you have to generate a little bit more income, or do you have too much money coming in so that you can adjust the draw, especially during retirement time? Because it's not always good to draw extra money that you don't need out of accounts and pay taxes. Sometimes it actually is if it's built into the strategy for the tax piece of it. Do you have a financial goal for the year? Some of us want to start accounts for, let's say, grandchildren or our kids. It might be some big goal to do something like that or give to a charity. What we want to do is make sure that we're accounting for that. Lastly, I'll say big changes. And we could say, hopefully, these are good big changes, meaning maybe you're moving or you're retiring or you've got a big trip coming up. We want to plan for that for the year. Bad changes, you need a roof on the house. But unfortunately, along the way, even going through retirement, there's always those big things around the house. And every once in a while, you have to replace a car. So it might be a big change like that too, but we want to account for it for the year. Tax strategies, I know going into a new year, a big thing is taxes because everyone's filing their returns. But another thing, we want to think year long. For some of you that last year, we actually did a few Roth conversions with clients, and it was really just to do things to improve the tax situation. So it's not always beginning of the year to think about taxes. It's along the way because some of these strategies you actually want to do at certain points during the year to set yourself up so that you do gain some type of advantage. So we always want to be thinking about it. We also want to look at where's the money coming from. Should we be changing the draw? I'm real big on making your draw tax efficient, especially if you're in retirement, because if you can draw from certain places and average those tax rates down over a long period of time, you actually save money on taxes. So we always want to take a look at that. Has anything changed? Should we be doing something differently on the draw? Also, estate planning has become a really, really big subject as of late. And part of it is because a couple of years back, there were some changes to, well, on the beneficiary side, kids, and not husband to wife or wife to husband, but to kids, when they inherit an IRA, they have to pull all the money out over 10 years. So what ends up happening is if nothing is done, then typically you're leaving more money to the IRS. That's assuming it drives up the tax rate of your child or grandchild that's inheriting the money. Now, we want to get ahead of things like that. So what we're doing is some tax planning ahead of time on the estate planning side of it, as crazy as it sounds. It's basically what we're doing sometimes is we're drawing out of those IRAs and 401k accounts ahead of time. You might be giving a little bit earlier, or you might be setting it up in a Roth or a trust account. So there's multiple ways to go about the estate planning piece of it. Investments, should I reallocate my accounts in the new year? We've gone through a year where the market hasn't done that well. In fact, managers within TD Ameritrade, who we use with our clients, have actually pulled back on the risk side of it quite a bit. Now, are they going to be adding even more risk back in? Do they feel that we are at the bottom of the market? So reallocation of accounts will probably go on this year. Where can I incorporate more safety into my portfolio? One thing that we've run into is coming towards the end of the year, all of a sudden interest rates, well, we knew they were going up to try to slow down inflation, but Now we're seeing a great effect on treasury bills, treasury notes, those safe investments out there that we can actually go short term and actually get a real good interest rate. So kind of keeping our mind, our well, an open mind to what's out there. So CDs, treasury bills, treasury notes, increased interest rates coming off of them. Do they fit into your plan now? For those of you that work with me, the one thing that we do that I always stress is we always run a low return in our projections. If we start to go on some of this guaranteed stuff, treasury notes, bills, CDs, if all of a sudden these interest rates are really, really high, you may not have to be as risky going through retirement for a while. So there is some plus to rising interest rates. And then lastly, how does a down year affect my long-term plan? Uh, we always run our checkup at usually a 4% return for clients. And the reason why we do that is it's to account for bad years. And what we're seeing as people are coming in for reviews is since we've always run it at 4%, they're still just fine. Okay. Now, if you were someone that was doing some of the planning yourself and you had a higher rate of return, let's say a 7 or 8% rate of return in your plan, it probably was too high to begin with because it's actually higher than the average of what the market does. But if you're someone that was planning that high, then yes, your plan is probably starting to show cracks. In fact, it might even show failure at this point. So what you're probably going to have to do is make some adjustments and change things around. The thing is, we want to be realistic when planning for retirement. I also like to lean a little bit more worst case when we're doing the planning where we run low returns. I know the past 12 years we've had a great run with the market, other than this year. So a lot of us started to raise expectations, but you really can't. If you think about it, the market has always been volatile. It's always gone through bad times. Historically, it has come back. So what we like to do is just run a lower rate of return so that when we go through a bad market or a bad year, the upcoming year, we're still right on track. All right. So again, as always, for those of you that need some help, for clients, you already know, just call me. Everyone else, if you need some help, you can call us up, ask us questions at 860-650-3005, or we could even run a retirement checkup for you. Thank you.